London, 1888, the height of the British Empire, gaslit streets, horse-drawn carriages, and behind the grandeur, a slum called Whitechapel, where poverty and darkness lived side by side. In the autumn of that year, 5 women were murdered. Their killer was never caught, never identified, never brought to justice. He gave himself a name in a letter to the press, Jack the Ripper. 136 years later, his identity remains one of the greatest unsolved mysteries in criminal history. Today we're going back to 1888 to walk the same foggy streets, meet the same suspects, and ask the question that has haunted investigators for over a century. Who was Jack the Ripper? To understand the murders, you have to understand Whitechapel itself. This wasn't the London of palaces and parliament. This was a district crushed by poverty, overcrowded tenements, open sewage, and thousands of people barely surviving day to day. Many women in the area turned to sex work simply to survive. The streets were poorly lit, patrolled by an understaffed police force that struggled to keep order. Even on a normal night, it was in this environment, desperate, dark, and largely ignored by the rest of London, that a killer began to hunt. Between August and November 1888, 5 women were killed within a 1-mile radius of Whitechapel. Mary Ann Nichols, Annie Chapman, Elizabeth Stride, Catherine Eddowes, and Mary Jane Kelly. Together, they became known as the Canonical Five. Each murder followed a disturbing pattern. The victims were killed at night in secluded areas, their bodies mutilated with what investigators believe showed a degree of anatomical knowledge. The brutality escalated with each killing, culminating in the murder of Mary Kelly, found in her own room, the most extensively mutilated of all 5 victims. Scotland Yard was overwhelmed. Newspapers seized on every detail and public panic spread through London. For the first time in British history, a serial killer had captured the attention of an entire nation, and no one could stop him. In the middle of the investigation, London's Central News Agency received a letter. It was signed Jack the Ripper, and it's the reason we call the killer that name today. The letter taunted police, boasting about the murders and promising more violence to come. Soon after, another letter arrived, this one accompanied by a preserved piece of human kidney, claimed to be from one of the victims. To this day, historians debate whether these letters were genuine, communications from the killer, or a hoax created by journalists to sell newspapers. What's certain is the effect the name Jack the Ripper became permanently attached to the case and to history. Over the past century, more than 100 suspects have been proposed. Let's look at 5 of the most debated. Suspect 1, Montague Druitt, a barrister and teacher who died by suicide shortly after the final murder. Some investigators at the time believed his death was too convenient to ignore. Suspect 2, Walter Sickert, a respected painter whose dark, unsettling artwork led some, including novelist Patricia Cornwell, into argue he was the killer. DNA analysis on preserved letters has been inconclusive. Suspect 3, Aaron Kosminski, a Polish immigrant living in Whitechapel, suffering from mental illness. In 2014, a controversial DNA study claimed to link him to the murders, though the science remains disputed by historians. Suspect 4, Francis Tumblety, an American con man and quack doctor with a documented hatred of women, who fled London shortly after the murders stopped. Suspect 5, Prince Albert Victor, grandson of Queen Victoria. This theory suggests a royal cover-up protected the monarchy from scandal, though most historians dismiss it as sensational, unsupported by evidence. Every suspect has holes in their case. Every theory has believers and skeptics. And after 136 years, no suspect has ever been definitively proven guilty. Victorian forensic science was primitive by modern standards. There was no fingerprinting, no DNA analysis, no centralized criminal database. Investigators relied almost entirely on eyewitness accounts, often unreliable, especially in fog-covered streets at night. The case also suffered from jurisdictional confusion, media interference, and a public desperate for answers, which led to false leads and wasted resources. By the time the murders stopped, and as suddenly as they began, the killer had simply vanished into the crowd he came from. Today, Whitechapel looks nothing like it did in 1888, but the case of Jack the Ripper never faded. It became the blueprint for the modern true crime genre, inspiring films, books, walking tours, and endless investigations. Perhaps that's the real reason this case still grips us. It's not just about a killer who was never caught. It's about the darkness that can hide in plain sight, and the questions that time itself